What is up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Rantcast. Finally, today we're going to be recapping the 2022 Indiana trip. So, the keen-eyed of you might remember that the last episode of this we did was recapping the 2021 Indiana trip, so you can definitely get an idea of how caught up we are with making these episodes, but regardless, we're going to be talking about what all went down during the 2022 Indiana trip. Before we get into that, because it is the Rantcast, we of course did have some issues trying to set up. It's past 12 o'clock in the morning my time here, which means by Brandon it's like 2 o'clock in the morning, so sorry about that, man, but it's just the way it goes at this point. On my end of things, we had an issue where I couldn't get into my Discord account. It signed me out because it's been so long since I used Discord, so I had to find the password, then wait for them to send me a verification email, and then once that was all done, I had to clean up the desk because about an hour ago, Brandon will tell you, right here was completely full of stuff. It was just like empty bags and freaking some Benadryl, I think. There were some fire alarms and some iPhone chargers over there. It didn't look too pretty, but now it looks okay, you know? Not the best, not the worst. Another issue I had was my microphone right here. Now, nothing actually like broke with it, but you see this little Shure tag at the bottom, and you see how it's like facing the correct way now? Well, in Indiana, I flipped it sideways because of how I had the mic mounted for the 2 videos I did with it out there, and also for the Rantcast episode that we were gonna shoot out there, but never had happen, you know? But either way, I couldn't find a screwdriver to take the backplate off and flip it back the right way, so that was another big delay. The last issue really was just OBS, as usual. I don't know exactly why it does this, but when I hit record, it would go down to like 20 frames a second, which was driving me insane because the last time we shot one of these episodes, it did perfectly fine. Between then and now, there was an update that claimed to improve stability, but it did the polar opposite of that, just like macOS Monterey did. This is another issue we had that I forgot about. So you see how this is visible right here? It shouldn't be. Why is it visible? Well, Discord changed their layout again, so I have to pop in here really quick and fix our cropping. I actually totally forgot about this scene. That is unfortunate. It's highly unfortunate. Let's just kind of do a little bit of that, make it a little bit bigger so it's centered. I think that looks pretty good. Looks pretty solid. So that's essentially all I had to deal with. I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but it pushed back shooting by like an hour, so that's, you know, that's a good time. Brandon had some issues too, so we're gonna let him talk about that before we get into the main topic for this episode.
So my list is actually quite a bit shorter. The only issue that I did have was actually an issue that Sam had as well. I haven't used Discord for a very long time, so it had also signed me out. My problem is I just couldn't remember the password for the life of me. And so I'm like, oh gosh, I tried all the passwords I usually have, even my most secure one that's super duper long wasn't my normal one. So I'm like, okay, finally I'm just gonna give up, just hit the forget password thing. And so I do that. It takes a long-ish time. I'm getting a little impatient for the password reset link to come in. Eventually it does. But during this entire ordeal, I'm just a little anxious. I'm like, I'm curious if I'll even get this in time, because I had issues before, not necessarily with Discord, but definitely with other websites where you don't get those, you know, email links in a very timely manner. I've gotten some hours late, but luckily I just got it within minutes, so that's really the only issue that I had. But it seems like all the issues have gone towards Sam's end of it, because we always seem to have an equal amount, and I was kind of shocked that this was the only problem, but Sam seemed to have a whole bunch more, so yeah, it's just great.
So with that intro out of the way, guys, let's go ahead and get into the actual topic of this video. Now, we started off the Indiana trip for this year a little bit earlier than we did in 2021, and the reason for that was because we wanted to go to a couple of really big fireworks shops in Missouri. Now, I ended up leaving my house at about 3:15, 3:30 in the morning. I don't remember exactly, but it is in the first episode of the Indiana trip. series. When I got to Josiah's house, he was still asleep. I can't be too mad at him for that because I've been known to sleep through my alarms, and it's just something that happens. That set us back about another hour. However, we did end up making it to the fireworks superstore out in Missouri. If you guys are interested in seeing what was involved with that, go ahead and click that card. It's in the first episode of the road trip series for this year. We rolled into Yellowbanks Lake at around 2:30 in the morning, and that was on the night of June 30th, but you know, technically it was July 1st because it had passed midnight and all that logistical crap that nobody cares about. But regardless, you know, we go to bed pretty much as soon as we get there, and I'm not entirely sure when Josiah woke up on July 1st, although I remember that I woke up at around 2:30 in the afternoon, which was very nice because I needed that sleep after being up for almost 40 hours and driving across the country in the good old 4Runner with its super comfortable seats. We didn't really do too much the first official day we were there. You know, we kind of just went around, got some food, drinks, all that good stuff for us to cook. However, July 1st was the first day that Brandon showed up. Now, just like last year, Brandon shot a lot of our content out there, and again, big shout out to him for that. I'm gonna go ahead and give Brandon a chance to kind of explain what it was like shooting our videos, and just like last year, you know, this isn't me saying, oh, I gave Brandon this big opportunity to shoot for DaSamNudge, you know, nothing like that. It's just, you know, I want you guys to know his perspective of what it was like shooting the vlogs, the behind the scenes, all that good stuff for the fireworks show.
All right, guys, so basically, I was like, oh my gosh, I get to shoot for DaSamNudge. Oh my gosh, what a big deal. But no, in all seriousness though, it was really fun to come back to Yellowbanks. I'm going to be bragging at myself quite a bit here, but on the way there, I didn't use the GPS or anything. I just kind of like semi-remembered how to get to the cabin, because I remember I got there kind of late. It was kind of a late night kind of thing. So when I got there, I'm just like, is this where it's at? I gotta turn by this place or whatever. And I eventually did find them, and we ended up actually shooting a few little things that night as well. But actually, when it comes in terms of actually shooting the thing, it was still a lot of fun. We structured things a little bit differently. I got a lot more things that were like that I didn't get before. Like we got to show like the party on the actual 4th of July. We got to shoot some more, I guess behind the scenes kind of stuff as we were kind of going around these fireworks shops and whatnot, and it was just a lot of fun. I even spent a day, and I don't know if we should get to it right now or if we should talk about it later, but I spent a day with them as we were getting fireworks and also getting more food and drinks and whatnot. So in terms of shooting the vlogs, no, it was a lot of fun and a really great experience. Of course, we did have a little bit of a cluster going on during the actual show, but I'll save that for later.
Yeah, I was gonna say we'll get into the actual like disaster of shooting the show later on in the video, because we could do an entire episode just on that.
Oh yeah, no, definitely.
It was terrible.
That's
man.
A whole thing, but
yeah.
We'll get to that. We'll get there.
Yeah. Now Brandon mentioned shooting some behind the scenes inside of fireworks shops. That did happen, but you guys didn't get to see it because we were actually asked to not film inside the fireworks shops, which I think I said this in a video. It is understandable. It's just unfortunate that we couldn't put that in the video because like the fireworks shops are cool. You know, I like how a lot of them are laid out, but you know, it's
every place. You know, you get a camera around, especially with the equipment that we've got. Some people get a little nervous about it. Some people don't. It's every fireworks shop has, you know, they're owned by different people, and different people have different opinions or perspectives of it. They were really cool with us. They never like super mad at us or anything. They were just more concerned and, you know, just a little bit more anxious, just because, you know, big cameras like the stuff that we use. I mean, we use pretty much close to what professionals use and whatnot. So, I mean, I guess professionals do use it because I do this for a living. So it does make them a little bit nervous, but you know, we want to respect their rules and policies. So we ended up just, you know, cutting those out just out of respect for them.
Yeah, and you guys got to remember too, we weren't just in there, you know, holding an iPhone like this, taking videos. I think if we actually did do it that way, we probably could have gotten away with it, but I made the executive decision to tell Brandon to bring his A7S in with my mic on top of it and the small rig cage that it's in. And, you know, I can understand that it kind of looks menacing, just, you know, 3 guys going in there with a camera buying stuff. I don't know, but regardless, like Brandon said, out of respect for them, we decided to not include that footage in any of the vlogs. Maybe if that fireworks shop ever, like, goes away, we can release that footage, but so long as they're still in existence, you guys aren't going to get to see it just because they requested that it not be released.
One thing that I did a little bit different is I went along with them. Maybe I already mentioned this so much, but yeah, I went along with them for a whole day on Saturday. I don't think I had a full day last year that I spent with Sam and Josiah, and luckily this year I did have a nice full day, and we kind of just, like I said, we went around all the fireworks shops and went to Best Buy and did some nice little errands and whatnot. So that was a really fun time to just chill out and really get to have fun. Really, that kind of the behind the scenes that you don't really see. You know, we're not just editing videos and just setting up the fireworks. There's a whole bunch more, just the road trip and the kind of just seeing things and seeing Indiana and Kentucky and just, you know, that kind of stuff that really makes a road trip really fun and you know, all that sort of thing.
The vlog, I believe it was the day 3 vlog that released on, I don't even know when it released. Everything's like so out of whack right now. But,
yeah.
You know, it was the 3rd vlog that was released from that trip. The shots that Brandon got in the car for the intro, the little montage I had at the beginning of us driving, I liked how that came together. It was pretty nice. It would have been better if we could have, you know, continued the transition from Yellowbanks to the fireworks shop, but as I've mentioned, we were not allowed to film in the fireworks shop. But, you know, either way, we still got a good vlog out of that day, I think, at least. It came out good. The main gist that I'm trying to get at here is all the video stuff was going great. It was going all nice and smooth. And then the 4th of July hits. Now, setting up for the show wasn't too terrible in terms of, like, getting the fireworks out to the dock. The video side, though, that's another story. Now, before we get into the disaster that we had, I do want to mention that the food there was very good. I know we didn't really get any footage of us eating, but the barbecue they had there was good. I enjoyed the pulled pork sandwich and hot dogs I had. They were good. They had a good selection of chips as well. That was nice.
I think too.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
They definitely had a lot of water there, so I don't think I hydrated myself very much last year, and this year I definitely hydrated myself quite a lot, and that's something that you kind of just forget to do sometimes when you're just hot. So lots of water, lots of drinks. The food was great. This is the first time I actually tried the food that was there, and yeah, I think I had a pulled pork sandwich as well, and it was actually really good. So I got to experience the food that was there that I couldn't do last year. But yeah, the party seemed to have gone pretty well.
Yeah, the party was nice. As Brandon mentioned earlier, we actually did get some shots of the party. I just used them for the intro of the 4th of July vlog, which it was kind of my intention to begin with to use it that way. But if we had more time to get more footage of the party, it would have been like actually in the vlog as well. But we didn't have time to like attend the actual party very much because of what we were doing trying to get the show ready. So aside from the actual party on the 4th of July, a lot of that day was spent just fusing up our mortar racks. There was some good montage clips of that in the intro for the 4th of July vlog as well. Brandon shot a good amount of them. I shot the majority of the macros that you guys saw, but I believe I went back up to the cabin to try to work on editing a video, and I left Brandon with my macro lens to get some shots. Regardless though, a lot of that day was spent just building our mortar racks and getting everything ready to go, and then carrying our stuff down to the dock from the fireworks shop. Now, during fusing, you know, we were all pretty uncomfortable in there because the AC in that building still doesn't work, unfortunately. However, as Brandon mentioned, we did have, like, our own cooler of water that was provided for us, which was very nice. We really appreciated having that because we didn't really stay hydrated last year at all, and then it just didn't go smoothly. Although it did go smoother than this year, so maybe the water was a bad thing?
It might have been.
Who knows, man? Who knows at this point? Either way, though, another little fun thing we did was Brandon got to ride on the rock sliders on the 4Runner. You remember that?
That was a lot of fun. I was like, man, I wish we could have done that a lot. Because I want to say I rode along on the side last year too, at least once, but this time we were kind of going back and forth a whole lot more. And so I got to experience that several times actually on that trip. So it was actually a lot of fun because just for full disclosure, the building that we were at and the dock are still kind of a bit of a distance. I mean, you could walk there, but with all the fireworks that we're bringing to it, it's a lot easier just sticking it into the 4Runner and just driving out there. And so this year we just did several rounds going back and forth that way, since it's a lot less laborious. It's hot. None of us want to continually manually bringing things back over there. So luckily I had the opportunity to just ride along on the side. So I had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, that's true. And if you guys are wondering why he wasn't just sitting in the back seat of the car, it's because that's how we got the mortar racks over there. We slid them into the back seat and had Brandon hop on the side, kind of like the SWAT team does, you know?
Oh, yeah. No, I felt like a SWAT team member there. That was pretty sweet.
Dude. Instead of a sniper rifle, you got a sniper lens on your camera.
Yeah, exactly. I felt BA there when I was just like, man, this is so cool. I'm like the coolest dude here at this entire lake. But yeah, no, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's always a good time riding on a car how you're not supposed to ride on a car, you know?
Did it feel safe? No. I mean, Sam tried to kill me a few times while I was on there.
Hey,
but
that's not true. I drove slow for you.
Yeah, he says that, but
yeah. If you did actually watch the 4th of July video there, you saw me and Josiah manually carrying the cake boards out to the dock. Now, the reason we did that is because we could have stuck them on the roof racks, but we didn't want to risk having them fall off and just ruin that entire board. So we kind of just dealt with it, carried it across. Sucked, but we got it done. You know, it wasn't too bad. After we got the cake boards and the rest of the fireworks to the dock is when everything kind of, you know, we're going like this, getting all excited for the show, and then it just goes like that. Now, why is that? The video that was released on July 5th was supposed to be released the evening of the 4th of July before the show even happened. That was the video of me standing in front of the lake announcing the delaying of the vlog releases because there's just no time to edit, mainly because of my MacBook Pro being too slow to handle the new footage we're doing with the 4K 120 frames per second footage from the GoPros, and then the 10-bit HDR footage from the iPhones. It just can't handle it in a timely manner, at least. And I was staying up until 6 in the morning waiting for the videos to finish rendering so I could pre-watch, because I couldn't pre-watch it within Final Cut because it would just drop frames like crazy. So I'd have to render the video, watch the video, and then get it uploading. And then by then it was 6 o'clock in the morning, and Josiah wanted me up by 10 o'clock most days. And doing anything on 4 hours of sleep typically isn't a good time, so I decided to delay the release of the rest of the vlogs, and then they ended up getting released a lot later than I wanted them to. Either way, though, it's now time to talk about the disaster we had trying to record the show. So I'm gonna go ahead and let Brandon start off with the issues he had with his glorious, just top-of-the-line, high-quality DJI products.
Oh man, this is gonna be a long one. I'm going to try to figure out how I could shorten this out and try to keep my anger down to a minimum, although that kind of makes the whole video fun, so we'll see what I could do. We had 4 drones. We brought along 4 drones. I had a Phantom 4, my Mavic, his Phantom 4, his Mavic 2 Pro, is that what it is?
Yeah, I had my Mavic 2 Pro and Phantom 4 Pro version 2.0, or whatever the heck they call it. Then
version
you had
2.0 Pro Plus or whatever it is.
Yeah,
yep.
The Phantom 4 Pro version 2.0 Pro Max Ultra, whatever, you know. And then you had your Phantom 4 Pro and the OG Mavic Pro, I believe is how that was, yeah. And you can actually see the Phantom sitting right behind him on his bed.
Yep, that's it right there.
Mine's sitting in its box right there because I don't respect it enough to even take it out for the video, you know?
While the fireworks show is starting, we had a little bit of a delay, just because it takes a while to get video stuff ready and whatnot. And we did have, I believe it was Sam's Mavic up in the sky at this point, just recording stuff, so that way we have at least one drone.
Which was stupid, by the way, because the battery died before we even lit the first fuse.
Yeah. So that kind of thing does happen occasionally. So that was one thing that happened. I did bring that one back, and eventually, I think at most I may have had 3 drones up in the sky. I don't think I had them all 4 at the same time, and the reason behind that was because of problems with DJI products and how unpredictable these drones are. And I just, on one pilot, I don't want to have too much stuff in the sky while fireworks is going on, especially when there's a crowd and there's legality issues and whatnot. So I tried to make it as safe as possible while also getting the same shot. So there's a nice little balance that you have to get. My drone, this is probably the more scary part, at least for me. My drone had flew away. I believe some ash or something had gotten to the controller and actually caused the joystick to not be centered. And at one point, so I had like maybe 2-3 drones up, and I'm kind of babysitting them, looking at their screens, and all of a sudden I see that my drone is aircraft disconnected. That's definitely like not something you want to see on a drone. Now I noticed I was having some weird control problems with that drone previously, so I kind of knew something was kind of weird with it, because it just didn't. I tried to pull forward and it would not want to really go forward. I go back and it would kind of just. It didn't want to center, or when I had it centered, it would go whatever weird direction. So it was just performing very strange. And honestly, I think I should have just brought it down at that point, but I was in a really good position, so I didn't really want to do that yet. So I kind of got to a spot where I thought the control was centered, but evidently it wasn't, because when I checked back about a minute later, the aircraft was disconnected, and that's when the warning bells kind of came on, and I'm like, uh-oh, I think what happened, the thing flew off and maybe it hit a tree or something. Like I don't remember how high it was at that time. I literally thought I lost it, and I was like, oh my gosh, that is a big problem. So I hit return home on my remote. Return home, if you don't have a drone, what the return home button does, it's pretty much like a emergency button. It pretty much calls the drone back to the landing spot and lands. Hopefully lands, because you don't know where that drone's at sometimes, and that's where I was running into an issue where I did not really know where that drone had went, because it flew off on me. And so I'm just sitting there, just kind of pacing back and forth, just waiting for this drone to come back. But at this point, I'm just cussing at myself. I'm just like, it's probably not coming back. It probably hit a tree, and it's out in the dark. I'm probably not going to find this for like a few days, possibly. And it's probably going to be in pieces at that point. While this is happening, I check back on Sam's Phantom 4, and his just stopped recording. And I'm like, okay, well, let me just reset the recording here, and see if that's fixes it. It doesn't do anything. I'm like, okay, let me switch back to photo mode, and maybe that will do something. It doesn't want to do that. So pretty much the drone at this point, this drone is completely useless to me, because it doesn't want to take photos. It doesn't want to do video. I have no idea what's going on. So I landed that one real quick, because a drone up in the sky that's not taking video is just an extra responsibility I don't really need, so I just landed that really quick. So there we go, got 2 drones kind of down. I didn't feel confident flying my Mavic. I don't think my Mavic actually flew at all during that entire show. I think I just had that grounded. I'm like, I don't want to lose 2 drones tonight, so that just stayed there, only really as a backup in case I was dealing with more issues or something. But I just didn't feel confident flying that at all. So really the only drone that got some really good usable stuff was probably Sam's Mavic. That one I think had some good stuff, and I think he even flew it in a few moments as well while I was dealing with the issues with the Phantoms. Luckily, my Phantom, as you can see back there, did come back. I was looking at my control. I think I even tapped Sam's. I let Sam know, just like, hey, dude, I think one of the drones crashed. And it's funny because I had a similar situation last year, but caused by a different issue. But anyway, I thought the drone had crashed, and I'm just waiting for it to return home, like I said, and I did not think that it was actually going to return home. And then all of a sudden I look at my screen and I'm like, wait, hold on. I'm seeing stuff. This thing actually is still there. It's flying back. All right, that's great. And eventually it did. It got close enough, and I resumed manual control. I grounded that guy really quick, and I don't think I flew that one again throughout the rest of the show, just because the joystick was acting weird. It turns out, I believe ash was in there, causing it to not center. But at that time, that night, I wasn't 100% sure what was going on. And just for safety concerns, it was just better just to keep that grounded. Because evidently we don't want it to fly into the fireworks. We don't want it to fly into the crowd and cause liability issues. So that drone was grounded for the rest of the night. Sam's drone was grounded because it's useless if it can't take video. My Mavic, I didn't feel safe with that because if I'm having 2 drones with issues right now, I don't need to have a 3rd drone that cause more of a headache. So really just his Mavic was the only one that was running. So that one performed really well. But yeah, no, the drone side of things was an absolute headache, even more than last year. Last year, the problem that I had with my drone was caused due to a faulty cable between my iPad and the remote control. It had not crashed or anything. It was just hovering. I just needed a new cable at the time. But back then I was just in a panic. I had no idea what was going on, if it was the remote control or the software. So yeah, that was more of something that was a really easy fix. This time it was more of an ash issue. I think next year, if we have an opportunity to do it again, what I'll probably do is probably set the drones at a takeoff point much further away from the spot. Maybe on the other, I don't want to say by the other side of the lake, but maybe just on that same area, but maybe a couple 100 feet away. And that way it's a little bit more safer, because let's say I do need to bring a drone down. That way I don't have to worry about it accidentally flying through the fireworks. I mean, it might make a really good shot, and actually it's still a very slim chance that it would actually hit, just because of the area of how much a firework would be and whatnot, but I also don't want to risk it. But I think it's just safer that way. I don't have to worry about ash getting into the controls. And then another thing too is sometimes we'd have a lot more cars. I don't know if the road was closed or not, but we had a lot of cars drive past, and that could be very distracting while I was flying the drone. And there's even a point where some kids were getting too close to the fireworks, and so you got to worry about them. As you can tell, it's a lot of babysitting you have to do. I had to make sure the kids weren't there. I had to make sure these drones weren't, crashing and whatnot. So it can be quite a lot. And so I think next year I'm going to just separate the drones a little bit more further away from the fireworks launch point. So anyway, I think that's the end of my rant. I probably forgot a bunch of stuff that happened as well. But at least for the drone side of things, that's basically all the things that happened, and we kind of lost a lot of footage, unfortunately. But I do have some plans for next year to make sure that doesn't happen, as well as I might just only have 2 drones up at the same time, not try to do all 4. I think that could be a little bit too much of a responsibility. Maybe just do 2 at one time. But yeah, I'll figure something out. It gets tough. It definitely does.
No, it definitely does. We've got over a year, well, not over a year, a little less than a year to figure out how we're going to do it better next year, but I actually forgot about the kids coming up to us. That was actually right at the beginning of the show. You can kind of just barely hear them in the background of the audio there. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing here? Why are you
I know.
by the launch pad? That's not allowed.
Yeah, it's not safe. It's not. I mean, I get it's cool, but you can't be here.
For real, we kicked him out. I think it was 2 minutes into the show. I'm trying to record fireworks with my handheld camera, which was just my iPhone, but I go up to Brandon. I'm like, dude, you got to get these kids out of here, man.
Yep.
They're gonna ruin the audio for the video because they were being loud.
And they would even come back a little bit too. I'd kind of shoo them away, and they would kind of get slightly close. I'm like, yo, guys, you got to go back. I mean, this isn't safe. And yeah, they will ruin the video too. And I don't know. I don't want any liability issues. I'm sure the owner didn't want that either. So yeah, I think next year I'm just going to set a bunch of cones around the whole spot, and you cannot be in this zone at all. You can't be driving past it. You can't. You have to wait. So yep. Yeah,
we definitely got to close off that road next year. Now,
yeah,
and the main issue with those kids being over there is the safety issue. We were getting rained on basically with ash coming through from the fireworks, which it happened last year, but it was a lot worse this year. I don't know exactly why. All of our drones, all of our cameras, my microphones, our iPads had a nice layer of ash over them. And that didn't happen last year. I don't know what changed. Maybe it's just because we had different cakes this year, the big cakes we had. But, you know...
Yeah, no, I thought it was weird too. Like last year, our problem was just moisture and water. But this time it's just ash and just chunks of ash. Some of them even like landed on me a little bit. I didn't remember that happening last year.
Yeah, I almost got my sunglasses out of the Forerunner because I was getting ash in my eyes, but that's the main issue. All it takes is an ember to fall and just burn one of the kids, and then we got a lawsuit on our hands, and we didn't want to deal with that. So that's why we're kicking them out, with the added benefits of they're not going to be in the background of the video anymore either.
True.
But yeah, so the Phantoms suck. I hate them officially now. I'm kind of glad DJI discontinued that line now, but the Phantoms, man, it's always the Phantoms that have issues. Yep, there's the controller right there.
Yep, I had this one centers up just fine mostly. It's supposed to, here's the thing, is that when you turn it on, it's supposed to beep if it does not center. Like if I put the controller like this and I turn it on, it's gonna make this really loud, obnoxious beep. It didn't really do that. Maybe that's because of the ash fall or whatever, but I mean, I noticed the control was acting kind of sticky slightly beforehand. Like it just didn't feel right, so maybe it wasn't the ash at all, but I'm pretty sure it may have been.
Well, and I've had
it's weird.
my...
it's weird.
Yeah, I've had my Mavic controller do that beep at me before, and when that happens, you kind of just have to... Here, I'll use the PS5 controller as a demonstration. You kind of just have to do one of these with the joysticks and then turn it back on, and it usually clears it right up. But what I think happened was some ash went right perfectly into the joystick, which, by the way, the chances of that happening are like probably 1 in 5 million of it landing right perfectly there to make it not, you know, kind of... Instead of being centered like this, it was kind of tilted back just a little bit, just enough to make the drone slowly glide backwards and then eventually get far enough away from the remote to lose its signal. But... That's just what happens, I guess.
And you know what? I think the drone was recording when that happened, so you might even be able to stick that into this video even as well. Like you could just see it kind of just slowly go back.
You know, yeah, I'll actually try to look for that. We need to talk about why there was only one drone angle in that whole video. Now, I know I'm talking a lot of crap on the Phantoms, but my Mavic had an issue too. We didn't notice during the show, but the gimbal, like, stroked out, and you can see... I'll put a clip on here, but you can see right about here where it's kind of just, like, dangling and, like, swaying, kinda, instead of staying level with the drone movements. I don't know why. That drone has had issues with that before, where I'm just flying it straight, and then it's like, oh, gimbal max roll reached, and then it just falls apart and has a stroke. It's very annoying, but... The shot, other than that, still looked okay. I've always been happy with the colors that drone is able to catch from fireworks that the Phantoms just can't do. I don't know why, but I noticed that last year the Phantoms couldn't capture the color as well as the Mavic did. Maybe it has something to do with the fact that the Mavic was shooting 10-bit and the Phantoms were only on 8-bit, but the GoPros, the Sony, and everything else was only on 8-bit as well. And those colors look just fine, so I don't know what the deal is with the Phantoms, but yeah, the drone fiasco was definitely the major issue with that, because we didn't have all 4 drones up at a time, but if we did, that would have been about $10,000 just in the sky, flying around, you know?
It is a little nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
Very nerve-wracking.
Just a little bit, you know?
Especially DJI products, because like I said, they act very unpredictably, and so that you know, I feel like if it was built a bit more reliably, I wouldn't have to worry about babysitting it as much as I do. But when you have all this money in the sky, you have fireworks shooting, it's kind of night. It does get a little bit more. The stakes are up there, and it gets a little. You will get some anxiety from that for sure, and especially if you want to try to be very safe as well. Yeah, no, it is scary. I'm hoping. I think next year we'll have it more sorted out, but. Yeah.
We also said that last year.
True. And things fell apart this year worse. I think next year will be better. We shall see.
Yeah.
Maybe one of the drones actually explodes, or maybe one of them gets hit with a stray firework, just launches way out in some weird spot, hits our drone. That actually make for a cool video, maybe.
Yeah, but, except the issue of now the firework's gonna blow up way too low, and if it hits right on the drone, it could destroy the gimbal, just break the gimbal right off the thing,
Yep.
So that would be fun, Now, aside from the drone disaster, we gotta talk about these little, just like, these marvels of crap. The freaking GoPros, alright? We had five GoPros, alright? Quit before they should have, alright? So we had 3 of these. This is the Hero 10 Black. This is supposed to be like latest and greatest, super good. And when it works, it is. I loved having the 4K slow motion shots, but if you watch the fireworks show video, you'll notice that there's only a few slow motion shots. Now, why is that? Well, it's because these freaking GoPros shut off after 20 minutes after I started recording. Now, I started recording on these about 8 minutes before we lit the first fuse, because I was like, oh, we didn't have issues last year. So that's what I did, just so it wouldn't be in the way and we wouldn't be even more rushed to get cameras going. But that turned out to be a very big mistake, because we only got about 10 minutes of slow motion footage out of these things before they overheated and quit going. So I'm annoyed about that. But I'm even more annoyed about the Hero 8s. I don't have one with me right here, so I'll just use this as a placeholder. They look pretty much the same anyway. The Hero 8s last year, perfectly fine. They ran the whole show. I hit stop on them. I didn't go up to them to see that they were turned off by themselves. This year, they did the same thing the Hero 10s did. I don't know what the deal is, but it's very annoying. There was also some software updates to these GoPros since last year, and maybe that caused it. Maybe the tolerances for heat have changed, but it ruined the video. I'm unhappy about it, man. Like, to start
me too.
off, like,
we didn't have that problem last year, like you said, and now all of a sudden it's a problem this year.
And
it's great.
The cherry on top is that the Hero 4 of all of them, with its crappy battery life, still had about, it was like 65% of its battery left, and it was still recording by the end of the show. Which makes no sense, because that's the one that always used to give me issues, and now it's the only one out of the million of these things that I have now that worked fine. I get, other than the 360 degree one, but we'll get into why I didn't use that. So let's go over some logistics here. If everything went smooth for the whole show, and we had all 4 drones, all the GoPros, we would have, let's do a count. So we had the A7S II, the G85, iPhone XS, 11, 12, 13, and then 3 Hero 10s, 2 Hero 8s, so we're at 11 cameras now, and then 4 drones. So we would have had 15 angles for the whole show, which I would have loved to have, it would have been great. Instead, we ended up with like 6, I think, on the high side by the end, because we also had an issue where Brandon's A7S II quit recording a half hour into the show, which really sucked, because that was the camera that had the stereo mic on it.
Yep, great.
Yep. Gotta love that, man. However,
I don't even know why it stopped recording either. I'm guessing an overheating issue, but I have no clue.
Yeah, because last year it was fine. Didn't have any issues.
I shot a whole wedding with that one time. It was just like a background safety camera just running in the back, and that wedding was maybe about a half hour, maybe less than that. I think it was longer. I think it just split the clip after a while, but it was still rolling. It didn't overheat. I'm very confused why it stopped when it did. I never had that issue with that camera before. I mean, the Sony does have overheating issues, that particular model, but I've never had seen that happen I think it stopped recording pretty early too, if I want to say, or maybe just I don't really remember the exact time code, but I mean it stopped at a weird time.
It stopped at a half hour, which, you know, that's something that I've always
limit.
I don't know. I've given Canon crap for that before, for their half-hour recording limit, because they don't want to pay taxes on having their camera record longer than 30 minutes at a time. That's why they do that, right? With European taxes, if your camera records more than 30 minutes at a time, it has to be taxed as a video camera, which costs more. So what do? Instead of eating the cost and giving their consumers a camera that just records until you tell it to stop, they're like, 29 minutes and 29 seconds is enough, or 29:25, whatever it is. And it's incredibly annoying. And as Brandon mentioned with his clip splitting, that's exactly what the A7S did last year, and it was fine. It did a half-hour clip, and then it started a new one with no seam in between, so I was able to just take the two clips in Final Cut and go like that, and it was fine. This year, it just stopped. The battery wasn't dead, the screen was still on, it just wasn't recording. So
yeah, I think during an overheat, it shuts down, of my understanding. I've never got to that point, but I don't know. Does. I'm very confused.
It doesn't. And the card was empty. I formatted it before the show. I formatted all the cards on all the cameras before the show because I didn't want to have that issue. So, I don't know. But I was very annoyed about it,
Yeah, no, that's another camera we have to babysit now, and I have no idea why. I wish it's my camera. I have no idea. I've never had that issue before, and it's annoying to me. It's weird. Yeah, no comment beyond that. I'm just like, I wish I knew what caused that, but unfortunately I don't. And now that means I have to babysit it now if I have to record for long periods of time, just because it decided to do that one time.
I had an issue with Sony cameras at the most recent wedding I shot. I shot on, what was it? It was a freaking A7 III, I think it was. That also cut the ceremony clip at a half hour, and I had to run over to it and restart it because, the ceremony's just a little bit important. You want to have that angle.
Oh yeah, that's very important.
Yeah. Now, thankfully, we had my G85 behind everyone, kind of zoomed in to the stage area where they were at, and as you guys know, that camera, even though it was $700, doesn't stop recording after a half hour. It'll record until either the battery dies or the SD card fills up. I've never had an overheat issue with that camera either because of the sensor size, and there's a bunch of other stuff with that too. But regardless, the G85, the little $700 piece of crap mirrorless camera, saved the day on that one because we now had a continuous shot of the entire ceremony that we could cut to when the A7s quit going. So I don't know, man. It's annoying. Going back to the actual fireworks show video, I mentioned that I had a GoPro Max, the 360-degree GoPro, and I didn't use any of those shots. Now, why didn't I use any of those shots? Well, take a look at this. You see how bad that looks? You see how it's all, really crappy looking and the colors are all washed out? That's why I didn't use it. It's annoying because I thought it would be cool to kind of when you're editing 360-degree video, you can keyframe when it tilts and rotates and pans and stuff. So I thought it would be really cool to keyframe to follow a launch of a mortar from the launch pad up to the sky to its explosion. But I couldn't even do that because the GoPro Max just looks like crap at night. And I don't know why, because I set the max ISO and everything exactly the same as the normal GoPros, but it just looked like garbage. So that's why that didn't get used either. Actually, I don't even think I included that in my camera count earlier, so if we had the GoPro Max, it would have been 16 angles.
Yeah, it's a learning lesson.
Well, no, it's not a learning lesson because we didn't really do it any differently than last year, and it went better last year than it did this year.
Yeah, it's weird. So,
who knows, man? All I know is that, the next time we do a show, hopefully next year, I don't know for sure yet, but if we can make it happen, we're going to make it happen. If we end up doing it again next year, we need to set 4 hours aside one night and just stress test everything. put the GoPros where they're going to be and just let them record and see how long they go before they overheat, see how long of a flight time we can get out of all the drones so we don't have to have them landing and going back up all the time. That's another thing I need to talk about too. We only had the Mavic angle in the video because I couldn't find a sync point on the other drones. Now that's not Brandon's fault. That's just because of how I told him to shoot it. So next year, the plan is we're just gonna have to send it and hit record on the GoPros like 5 seconds before the first fuse is lit, so we can at least get 20 minutes of actual fireworks happening on them. And then for the drones, we'll just start recording around the same time we hit record on the GoPros and just aim them on the ground at the launch pad so I have a sync point, because the drones don't record audio, so I can't sync them that way. But if I can see when the first firework leaves the dock on the drones, I can sync that with the rest of the cameras. Hopefully that makes sense, but we can launch them, as needed, but I want to have them rolling the entire time so it's just one continuous clip that I can sync with the other cameras. And the show ended up being about 25 minutes with the gaps that I cut out of the video. If we're lucky, we can get a half hour out of the drone batteries. So, like flight time out of the drone batteries. So it maybe might be doable. Either way, though, we're going to have to do a lot more testing for video next year than we did this year and last year.
Yeah, very true. I'm excited for that because I think there's a lot that can be learned from testing and doing like an endurance test and then finding, and luckily we do have a year to figure out a way to easily sync point the drones, because like Sam said, they only get about a half hour of flight time, and obviously we'll want to get the whole show, especially towards the end, the finale, and it gets, obviously by that point in time the drones would have to be down. So figuring out all those little problems is something that we'll be working on next year for sure, and we might even have some new equipment. We'll see. Depends how things go in terms of expenses and how our lives go and whatnot. But Sam might get a new camera. I might have a new camera as well that might be able to help us, bring something new and different for next year's if we do it. But yeah, no, it's it kind of sucks that this year's video wasn't as great as we had hoped. But I'm still very optimistic for next year's. I think we will definitely get something that will be really good, and I don't know, I think I'm still excited for it. I don't really see it as much as a setback, but just something to go back. It happened, and I can't go back and reshoot it, but I can improve it for next year. So yeah, that's my 2 cents there.
One thing I did forget to mention about the A7 is that I actually was able to use the video from it this year. I don't know if I ever mentioned this, but last year it was out of focus for the entire show, so I was only using the audio from it. This year, however, quite a few of the shots were from that camera, and the colors on the fireworks looked very, very good through S-Log and the color grading I did on it, but we still lost it near the end, which sucks because having stereo audio for that finale would have been awesome, but it just didn't work out this year, unfortunately. Anyone from GoPro watching this video right now? Fix it. Fix it. So with the disaster of the video side of the fireworks show out of the way, the show itself went really smooth. We had one cake light on fire, which is pretty typical. That's just going to happen with some of the cakes that we had. And we had another fire extinguisher that didn't do anything to put it out, so that was fun. But other than that, the show went good. We had a couple of shells blow up in the tube, but no one got hurt there, so in my book at least, that just adds to the fun, a little bit of excitement, having a firework go off on the pad.
It felt great.
Yeah. After the show, we packed up everything, went back to the cabin, and then the day after that, we made the trip back to Colorado. And the drive back from Indiana was pretty much the same story. Uncomfortable seats, long drive, it was boring. However, on the way back around 10 o'clock something at night in Missouri, I hit a deer. And that made me really happy. It ruined my fender, put a nice big dent in my bumper, and it actually bent my core support. And for those who don't know, that's what your radiator and a couple other things mount to. And Brandon, I actually don't think I told you this, but the first Saturday that I was back from Indiana, I tried to go up to Idaho Springs with some of my friends to get Bojo's Pizza. And we were about 11, 12 minutes into the drive, and my radiator exploded. So, yeah, I don't know if I told you that or not, but...
No, that's the first time I heard that. I bet that made you really happy there.
Oh, yeah, no, so I look down at my gauge cluster, and I see the temp gauge is, pretty high up there, and I'm like, oh, this happened on the trip, let me turn my AC off. It doesn't drop, it keeps going up, and I'm like, oh, cool, that can only mean good things, right, Eventually it keeps going up, and I'm like, alright, I gotta pull off. So I pull off, and by then it's just in the red on the temp gauge, so I'm like, alright, let's cut the engine. So I pop the hood, go out there and look, and it's just spraying coolant everywhere, and I'm like, oh man. Sick, man, my radiator blew up.
That's great.
Yep. So, why am I talking about this in the Indiana trip video? Well, I have a theory that the deer caused that. Remember how I mentioned that it bent my core support? I think that it tweaked it just enough to pop the plastic lid off of the, or not lid, but the plastic tank off of the top of the radiator, and it was probably just slowly leaking out the whole drive home. And then when I tried to go up the mountain on a 90-degree day with the AC going with 5 people in the car, I think it just had it, built up too much pressure, and popped. So, yeah, that was fun. That was very fun.
Oh man, dude, that really sucks, man.
The advantage though is going back home is downhill. So
good.
We poured the rest of the distilled water that we had left from the drive back to Colorado back in the 4Runner's radiator, and mind you guys, we took the cap off of the radiator. Nothing came out. It was dry. You know what happens, normally when you pull the cap off a radiator and it's hot, you get covered in coolant and third-degree burns. Nothing. Just nothing. So we poured the rest of our distilled water in there, and someone actually stopped and gave us 2 water bottles that we also poured in there, which, by the way, guys, don't do that because it can corrode your radiator, but mine was blown up already, so I didn't care. I just needed something in there to get back home. Either way, though, we did that, let it cool down for about a half hour. We exited off of I-70 and then did a U-turn to get going the other way on I-70, and as soon as I hit that downhill part, I put the 4Runner in neutral and just coasted until my exit to get back home, and it made it. Didn't blow a head gasket, so that's good. That would have been really expensive. That was the first time I ever hit a deer, and since then I've had 3 close calls with a deer. Just the other night I was with a couple of my friends going down in Littleton, and I see this deer off to the side of the road just looking at me, and I'm like,
better not.
I see you. Probably trying to avenge me for killing his brother or something from...
Probably, man.
Whatever it was,
crazy.
Man. It sucked, alright? That's just the way it goes, though. Now, I will say, it could have been a lot worse. It kind of just clipped the fender and the wing light on my car. If it happened 2 seconds later, I probably would be dead right now because, with how fast I was going, which I will not disclose in this video, it would not have ended well. It would have sucked. I'd actually probably still be in Missouri right now, assuming I lived through it, but yeah. Either way, though, other than the deer and the overheating issue, we made it back to Colorado just fine. We got back in around 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. Where I promptly left all my stuff except my cameras in the car and jumped into my bed for 7 hours. Oh,
Don't
man.
blame you.
Yep. Yeah, I was tired. For the record, guys, yes, I did all the driving both ways. I drove to Indiana from here on no sleep, and then I drove from Indiana back to here on 8 hours of sleep or something like that. I don't know. Either way, though, the drive back was a lot less fun because there wasn't anything to look forward to,
True. That's how it's with every vacation. It's just the drive back just kind of sucks. And
yeah. The drive out there, sure, it was boring, it was uncomfortable, but we had something to look forward to, We were once we're there, we're going to be there, we're going to get to blow stuff up every night, cook some good food, see Brandon, have fun, fly drones, all that good stuff. And then on the drive back, it's like, man, I gotta go back to work.
Home and then go work. Yep.
Yeah, I gotta go back to work. I now have a messed up car, so it sucked. But either way, as you can see by where I'm sitting, we did make it back. One last thing I want to mention is that we didn't do a siren hunt, which is kind of unfortunate, but you can probably guess by the trend of everything else in this video why we didn't do it. It's because we didn't have time. That's it. That's all there was to it. We both wanted to do it. I wanted to go see some tests, but we didn't have time to do it, so it unfortunately didn't happen.
I should mention this. Some of the cool places that we'd usually test on the first Saturday were not, just because of the holiday, and then there was also a threat of severe weather, and whenever that happens around here, places cancel, and it's usually just not worth, driving. And then we get there, nothing happens, and we just all wasted a bunch of time and gas. So and we just decided not to risk it and just kind of skip it for this year. But we will hopefully next year do a real big one. Exactly where, it might even happen this year too. I might even head up to Colorado. But we shall see. We're going to hopefully do one. It's not going to be like a thing that it's not like we're not doing siren hunts or anything anymore. It's just we just didn't have time and didn't want to risk going really far and getting nothing.
Oh yeah, so, yeah. I've enjoyed both of the siren hunts that we did in 2020 and 2021. Maybe Brandon will come back out here. That he was out here earlier this year. We just didn't really do a video while he was out here, but maybe he'll be coming back later this year. Maybe around, what do you think, like fall, winter, sometime around there?
Fall is probably what I'm thinking, yeah.
Oh, if you could be here in fall, that would be perfect for the siren hunt, because it's like not super cold, but it's also not super hot either. Sweet. And yeah, we can go see some cool stuff around here in Colorado. It would actually be the first time I've done a siren hunting video in my own state, so that would be pretty cool. And then, who knows, maybe next year we'll do a Kentucky siren hunt if we have time while we're out there.
A lot of cool stuff there.
So there you go, guys. That's it for, I believe this is actually the first episode of the Rantcast for 2022. Now, we were gonna record the 5-year anniversary Rantcast episode in Indiana. Didn't happen because we didn't have time, but on July 5th this year, the Rantcast turned 5, so that's pretty cool. We started this way back in 2017 with our primitive setup, and it was really ghetto, but yeah.
We did it somehow.
We did, yeah. The look of the Rantcast hasn't really changed, which is something that I want to start changing up because, it's been 5 years. I know we've only done like 15 episodes of it, but I would still like to have a new look for the Rantcast eventually, so that's something me and Brandon are going to be working on, hopefully sometime soon, because as you guys know, Brandon did design the logo that you see right under me, and he animated the DaSamNudge intro and all that good stuff, so we're hopefully going to have something new next time we do one of these episodes, which, for all I know, might not be until next July, but
it happens.
It does happen. It does give us a lot of time to come up with new graphics, though.
True.
Very
That's
true,
plenty
yeah.
of time.
Definitely. Either way, though, guys, that is going to be it for this episode of the Rantcast. Big shout out to Brandon, as usual, for being here. Big shout out to him for all the help he gave us on that trip as well, helping us with video production and all that good stuff, and making sure all of our drones came back in one piece. That was a feat, might I add.
Yeah,
very
scary.
Impressive.
Luckily, they survived.
Yep, they did.
There was a panic attack there, but no, they're there. No one got hurt. That's the most important thing.
Brandon's probably going to go to bed right after we end this, so I'm going to go ahead and let him go do that. And for those wondering about the washing machine videos, yes, I took videos of the direct drive at our cabin, and there will be one next Friday. So until then, guys, that is going to be it. Hope you enjoyed it, and as always, thank you for watching.